Well, hello. How are you? Fine? I think that yes. Okay, today's session is the last session for the architect course. So don't be a little annoyed if I'm going to tell you we have to do this lab, this, another lab, and so on, because we are going to have many labs today. Well, in reply of people who want to, maybe there is going to be a question about what happens after the architect course. I know that you both are taking both courses, but at least one of you. So as soon as I finish this, um, I think that next week or after we finish the developer course, we want you to start with the process. Okay? Well, the process is an answer that you have to do for let me organize it. We're going to make a test. We are going to send you an email with all the specifications, and you have to follow that, and then you are going to obtain your certificate after doing the test. Okay? Well, that's all that I can say right now. Let's begin. Well, I'm going to. Okay. Good afternoon. Yeah, is my meeting reminder. Huh. Okay, so we were discussing yesterday about the use of we were discussing yesterday about the use of some of these tools and everything. So I'm going to continue with all the tools, and then you're going to see how it works. Let's begin with this first tool. We were we we were in the part of the in running cases. Okay, now you can see here all this list. For each one of these folders you're going to find a predefined list, well, a predefined set of columns. Okay, this set of columns, if I have the plugin for custom case list builder, I can modify it according to my needs. Okay, what it means that maybe I don't want one of the columns, so I have the option to take out that column, and then you are going to have another set with different columns. Okay, but not different, but the point is that based on your customizations you are going to play with these columns, and that's the plugin that now I'm going to explain. This plugin is from here, admin. Let me close this. And you are going to follow in the admin panel, and then in this settings tab I'm going to click on custom case list. Now you can see this, that if I click for instance on post is going to have all these fields, but I can make this. I can reduce the quantity of fields, maybe leave it 2 fields, and when this happens the post folder is going to contain okay, I'm going to apply the changes. I'm going to select a PM table, it forces me to do it, and then I can, for instance, I'm going to take out all of this, move it here, apply changes. Oh, it forces me, okay, and then I can apply changes, and there you have, you're going to obtain this kind of structure. Okay, do you understand? It is just that you can see that now it has been, the number of columns has been modified. Now if you look again to this feature, it's a very simple feature. You can select an inventory, a PM table, and with this PM table you can make one of the columns part of that folder. So I can do this, apply changes, okay, because I have selected from here, and when I selected the PM table, I'm going to have some fields here, and then I can start playing with that. When this happens, I'm going to renew this, and there you have, you're going to obtain all of this information. So do you have any question for this? Well, it's very simple. So, but I like it. It's a very nice feature. Okay, so play a little bit with our first lap. I know it didn't take even 6 minutes to explain that. So let's play a little bit with that function, okay? So our first lap is going to be this one, custom case list builder, okay? Custom case list builder. We're going to have 10 minutes for the lap. 10 minutes for the lap, okay? Hello, did you finish? Hello? Hi. Okay, I'm going to wait, okay? It's just the custom case list builder, that one. It's the only lab that you have to do. Okay, if that is happening, Michael, don't worry. We can continue. Okay, it means that what I try to say is that we are in the last part, so she can download another virtual machine and upload if necessary, if she needs for the exam. Okay, so I think that I know that it's an issue, but I think that we can go on, move on to the next step. Yeah, you share the same virtual machine and you do the lab if necessary, okay? Or you can download another virtual machine and install it, okay? Let's move on to the next part. I'm going to talk about another feature, and this feature is to organize your information when you have a plenty of requests. Okay, so when you have plenty of requests, it's going to be unnecessary to open each one of them and approve them, so you're going to take a lot of time to do that. So there is a technique, if that is a name that we can call it, there is a technique called the batch routing. Batch routing is going to collect all the requests. It is going to organize as a list, and when that happens, you are going to be able to approve. You're going to approve if necessary. So that's the main point of using this type of that's the point of using this type of work. Um, so what we are going to do, I'm going to configure this batch routing, and after configuring the batch routing, you are going to see how it works. Let's see the case. Batch routing is this one. It's a feature that you find here. It's applied, okay? It's applied. It's in the admin panel, okay? It's an enterprise plugin, okay? You don't see it, but it's applying. To make it work a task as a batch routing, you go to consolidated case, you enable this, and then you select your Dynaform for this case. So it means that, what it means this, this task, after finishing this first task, and now we are routed to this task, the approve invoice. The approve invoice is going to collect the requests, and instead of opening here in the home and in inbox, we are going to see it here in the batch routing. And actually, when I have this type of cases, okay, you are going to see that here each column is going to represent a field from process maker, okay? So it's going to be a field that we use in process maker. We basically use this type of idea of using process maker as this way, you know, by using um, all of this, okay? So if you see, these columns are going to represent fields that we have in our Dynaform. When this happens, it means that I can move here and I can click, for instance, this. You know, the approve invoice represents this button, and if I click here, I can select yes or no. What it means this? It means that I can decide to route okay. What it means this? It means that if I have transformed all the Dynaforms, well, it's a way that you can save time, okay? Because you are going to take a lot of time opening each one of the cases and selecting yes, no, yes, no. So if you want to save time, you're going to collect all of that in batch routing. So this plugin is going to execute that. It's going to group your cases, and when this happens, it's going to organize, as you can see here in this in the screen. Just that. It's a way that you can save time. Okay, so it's a very interesting feature. It's a way that you can save time, especially for people who are going to do approvals. When this happens, I'm going to move to actions. Okay, excuse me. I'm going to move here. Then I can select all the cases, or I can select each one of them. Let's select two of them. No, let's select two of them. This case is no, and it's going to move to a previous task, and this case is yes, and it's going to move forward. Remember, 46 is going to move because it is no. Case 46 is going to move to receive invoice. Case 45 instead, because it has yes, is going to move to pay invoice. So let's apply it. I'm going to apply. I click here, answer routed, and then confirm the routing action. When this happens, it tells you this. Case 47, summary of derivations, pay invoice, administrator. Case 46, summary of derivations, receive invoice, administrator, admin. Okay, you can see here the summary of derivations. Do you have any question for this? Yep. Well, again, another lab. Don't be afraid if we are going to have many labs. It's very common that. Let's do the batch routing and this quiz. Okay, 15 minutes you are going to have now for this, for both batch routing and the quiz for running a process. Yeah, the lab and the quiz. Thanks. Hello, are you there? Yeah. So let's check the quiz for a while, okay? We're going to open the quiz and start working with it. Yeah. New cases can only be created by the user who designed the process. False. New cases are created from the home interface. Users must be assigned to the first task in a process in order to be able to create new cases. True. The home interface inbox only lists cases assigned to the current user. True. The following case folders are included in the home interface. Okay, is post, draft, and assign an inbox. I'm going to finish the tab. And I'm going to submit all and finish. Okay. Well, I think that at this point we have concluded all the part of running a case, and some techniques to use and treat our cases. Okay, so here is like we finished from different perspectives all the course of architect when we talk just about the process itself, the invoice approval process. Okay, so that's the main idea of using um, of following all the instructions from the courses. If you remember, we started with the mapping of the process, then we moved to the Dynaforms, then we moved to the user management. But also, when we were moving through all these ideas, through all these topics, we were changing our perspective. One day we were the part of the designing, then we run the case, or we started to do some reports. So it's a task, okay? It's a hard task, okay? Because you have to know how to manage, how to be a manager in all these circumstances, okay? So precisely is that. Batch routing is a benefit from the enterprise version, and that's why I do have this kind of flexibility. Okay. Well, I think that with that we can close this chapter on running a case. How was the lab? Was it fine for you? Yeah, both labs are very quick, so you don't have to spend a lot of time explaining things. Um, they are very easy to understand. Okay, now I'm going to explain another feature, and this feature is called it's called well, two features. The first one is called uh, web entry. The second one is called case tracker. So both are going to be combined, and then we are going to obtain a result from both of them. Okay, so that's the reason of using this. Okay, I am going to move. Okay, I'm going to move here. We have said, um, okay, I'm going to propose something. You're going to have many customers, and many of these customers, imagine that you have many students, and all of these students are going to open cases. Okay, it's like this. You are going to receive quizzes. Okay, you want to control the quality of your services. You want to quantify the quality of your services. So you are going to apply some quizzes that measure this reference. Okay, and by doing that, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to I'm not going I know that you are going to receive hundreds of students who are going to do this type of quiz. And I think that an action in vain, if you are going to do all of this, it means that for instance, if I have 200 students who are going to fill in the quiz, it's going to be a nightmare to create 100 accounts in process maker to make them run, because I want to process that information. I need to extract all those extract that information and process it. Okay, because these are results from a quality test. It's a quality survey, so you are going to use that information. But basically, that's the idea that I am proposing to you. Is like I am going to enter to this part. Okay, I'm going to enter to use this kind of game of using a resource which can collect information, but you don't need to create that amount of uh, accounts. You just need to process them, and there is going to be a user who is going to be responsible for these actions. So the main objective of this is, how can I create access to my process to a user who is going to use but he doesn't have account, especially when I have a massive collection of data. And actually this feature is called web entry. Okay, web entry is going to satisfy the condition to um, collect data, okay, and well, it's going to allow for any student in our case to register a name or start working with that, okay. Okay, let's begin. I'm going to click here and click on web entry. This option allows me to obtain a link, and with this link any other person who doesn't know anything about Process Maker or is not or who is not a user in Process Maker can actually start working with it. So I have a web entry. I can make it single Dynaform. When I say single Dynaform, it means that when it means that when an external user starts to interact with Process Maker, is going to see just one Dynaform. If not, if he needs to follow a set of steps, I can choose it as multiple steps. So what it means that an external user can go through all these steps in Process Maker, despite he is not a member of my server. So in single Dynaform, it's possible to select which type of Dynaform I can use for this purpose. And when I choose multiple steps, things are going to be different because here I can select or collect the information that I require for this web entry to function. If you have this multiple step, what you can do is to drag and drop. So you can use the report form here, then you can use the copy of invoice, then you're going to have the you can add even some triggers, okay. Okay, so that's the difference of this part of forms. I can construct how is going to be the sequence that an external user is going to follow. It can be a single Dynaform or multiple steps. That depends on the opportunities that we use. As forms, then we have properties, and then we have link. Okay, in forms we just do the arrangement of process maker objects, input documents, output documents, dynaforms, and so on. If I click below in properties, you're going to find that here I can enter the web entry of the web entry title. So I can call it like web invoice, for instance. And in automation, it means that if I am going to make an authentication as anonymous, it means that when somebody starts to work with a web entry, he is not going to provide information about himself. Now the case is the following. If I click on require use login, you're going to find this all these functions. The hide log information bar, for instance. And below you have three buttons. The first one is redirect to process maker predefined response page. Okay. Then you can add the custom to URL and redirect to custom and clear login info. Okay. These are callback actions. What it means this? For instance, I'm going to add this as a callback action. Okay, it can be my page, whatever. I paste it, and after finishing all the steps, our case is going to be again routed to Google. Okay, so that's the callback. You have many different callbacks, and then this button is going to show me the case, because when I open with web entry, the point is that you're not going to see that case in the web entry unless it's routed to the next user. Okay, so this show task in new case. Okay, let's explain. You know that you're going to have a first user, and this first user is assigned to the first task. That's our example here. Okay, when you consolidate the case and you start to enter information by consolidating the case. Okay, so when you consolidate the case, you are going to okay, you consolidate the case. Okay, so it means that in this property, the showing case, you start this case with the receiving voice, but you are not going to see in the inbox unless you are going to configure this web entry with this feature, the show task in new case. Okay, let's begin with that. I'm going to use some examples. I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to use a callback here, a custom callback, and you're going to understand me. First of all, this part of forms is going, as I said before, this is going to organize the sequence of steps that we need to follow. So this can be, in this case, I'm going to enter the report form, then the copy invoice, then I need to enter this obtain user values, okay, and then a value sum. Then I can move to the properties and you obtain all of this. Okay, I want to make it require user login, and by clicking on that, the options below are going to be named. Okay, that's the main point of using that. Then you have link. Link is going to be different because in here is when you start to generate your own link. So it means, and this link is going to represent that web entry, and this link can be embedded in a digital publicity, for instance. Okay, or well, it's up to you. There are many reasons. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to re-enter again to show you what is happening. I'm going to enter here and open it, and then start using this. When this happens, I'm going to submit here and click on OK. I can attach here a file. Okay, so look at this. I played directly from my link to fill in all this information, and it is the Dynaform. But this user who is going to use this link with this Dynaform doesn't have any account at all, so he's starting all the steps. That's why that he moves and says I'm going to submit. Okay, and then it moves to the next step, and it's this copy invoice. It is exactly what you have here in forms. You have the report form, then you have the copy invoice. Okay, so an external user is going to see that and then click on next. And then this is the callback. The callback is this one, the one that we proposed. We don't have a title. It can be web entry Carnegie Mellon, for instance. I'm going to save. When this happens, what it means? That I can make the refresh, and or maybe we can start from here and start doing it. Okay. Yeah, so you have the forms, then you have the properties here, and finally you have the link. When this happens, okay, you're going to find all of this information. Okay, I'm going to move to the link, and there you have. Now, this link has been generated by clicking here on generate link, but I can make something more advanced and customized. Okay, it's another option. You can insert your dominion and then you create your own web entry. But in this chapter, I'm going just to click here and generate the link. Another property that I want to focus here is maybe you need the require user login. Okay, so I'm going to unclick here and you're going to see the login for this. So I'm going to save it and again go and move. I'm going to open again a case here. And now you can see that this is different from this. This is going to be the admin administrator user log. Okay. Okay, so that's the way that it works. Now I'm going to show you something more with the web entry. I can, for instance, I can make this to I can introduce forms, okay? And when I click here, start new case, for instance, I'm going to click here and I'm going to enter. It means that this user that I'm going to open from here, from this URL, this case is going to be reflected in my inbox at the same time. So if I click here and enter all the information, like 1000 cell phones, okay, I'm going to submit. So that this one, and now that case that I open is going to be seen. Just a moment, I'm going to fix this. Okay, yeah, I'm going to enter all of these fields, okay, because when we were working, the point is that we didn't select all of these. I'm going to drag and drop here, then I'm going to apply changes. Okay, and there you have it. You move here to for instance, I have moved here, you move again to inbox, you're going to see that now the case that I have created now is shown here, and it is this one. I just made some references here. Okay, so you have here the invoice approval. It is this one. When you click, actually this case, okay, was created based on the invoice approval process, but using the web entry. This one. The web entry. So when that happens, it means that in the inbox you are going to find a plenty of information about that. So you have invoice approval process, okay, and you have this another case, this one. Okay, actually this is the case that we run, and you can see that if I click on showcase in inbox, you are going to see this type of diagram display here. Okay, so it means that it's not going through the user and directly goes to the second task. Instead, it's going to, if I click on that showcase, like here, this one, the apt entry, and I say I want to see the case, this one, it means that I can see now the everything, that I can see the process. Okay, it means that I can see the case even if I don't have, even if I didn't run on the other way. Okay, so I can save this. Do you have any question for this? Is everything clear? Okay. Now, I know that an external user is going to use this type of tools and everything, but we need to think also what we are going to do for us, I mean, what we are going to do with this reception of information from our users. What do I try to mean with that? They are going to open cases, and that's clear. You are going to open cases and everything, but they need to know what is happening with that case. Imagine that the student opens the web entry and it's going to be used for a process and everything, and actually that user doesn't know anything about that, but he wants to know what is happening, and exactly that's the main point of using a case tracker. When you use a case tracker like this one, what you try to do is to track. That's obvious, no? So I'm going to use, for instance, I'm going to track the report form. Okay, so you can have all of this, and I can use the, for instance, I want to see in this case tracker the approve report form. So I can drag and drop it, and then you are going to see that that process maker object. Okay, and in here you have the options to see the process map, then the routing history, and finally the messages. When I save this, you're going to have this information. Um, okay, so that's main point about using both things here. So that's the main point of it. So well, well, I think that when you have this um, kind of sensation, imagine you're the external user. You want to know, maybe you send us a request, you are the student, you send a quiz, maybe it's for the acceptance to a faculty in, I don't know, okay, but it's a university there. So what you try to do is to start digging, okay, then searching what is happening behind all of this stuff. Okay, so um, the case tracker in my case is going to show me the process map, the routing history, and the messages. And here you have the assign objects, the approve report form, then the DINA form. And here I can enter a condition to see it in the case tracker. So that one is also an option in our system. Now notice something. I'm going to save this, okay? Notice something. If I use all of this, I'm going to save it. Okay. I'm going to run a case. I'm going to enter to new. Then I'm going to move to invoice process receive invoice. Okay. Well, I'm going to fill in as it is. I'm going to fill in like this. Then you have this. Then I'm going to submit. Now in the case tracker, okay, you are going to see you need to use two things: the app number, in this case 91, and the other one is the pin YCI8. I'm going to copy here this, and there you have. This is the case tracker. In the case tracker, what I try to do to use this is this URL, except with this because this is an IP, it can be a domain. Okay, this URL is going to be the direction for the case tracker. Notice that after the skin, I'm going to use tracker and log. Now, if I click here, I need to enter the number of the case, 91. Then you have here the YC8. My excuses for, I know that now I'm a little exhausted talking with you, but I really have a very a strong headache, okay? But let's move on. So you have all of this information. So what shows you the case tracker? You have this map here, okay, and the legends are going to tell you task in progress, completed task, and so on. So they are going to inform what is happening in the case. I know that the case 91 goes here. We haven't completed any of these tasks. Now if you look at this just for a moment, okay, if you look at this, okay, I can check again. I'm going to enter the credentials YC8. I can see the case forms, and one of them is this, and I can view the form. I can move back, then I can click on my case history, and my case history is going to provide me all this information. Then my message history is going to be this one. In the message history, I'm going to see this information, okay, the 91, then my case history, and so on. So you are going to see a set of options where you can display all this this information. Okay, so that's the case tracker. And actually, how we can help our customers, if you think in a more management version, okay, of process maker. So you are going to be responsible of the development operations and the supporting. And then you have requests, you use the web entry for that case, and people want to know what is happening with the case. You use the case tracker. So you can send a URL for your external customers, and you're going to send an email with the PIN and the number of the case, and they are going to track their own cases. So you can start to communicate with the outside, okay? Not within, but with outside, and that's important, okay? So both are going to be directly pointed for those reasons. They are going not to attack, but they are going to tackle issues about communication with other users outside our server. Okay? Not from the list of the typical list for our users, but we can apply a different approach of using this. So I want to know your opinions about this. Do you have about this tool, about all of this? What do you think about it? Do you have any? I think that in universities you have a lot of this. It's like you receive a big amount of information, and maybe you are going to see a quality service. So are you going to collect? I know that Google can be efficient in some way, but it doesn't have appropriate. It doesn't have appropriate format. Okay, you can display maybe columns and everything, but you're not going to display something very satisfying for your customers. So this is one of the observations that I can do about this use of web entries. Okay, well, both are combined, web entries and case trackers. Then we have gone through the part of running a case. So I think it's a set of many features. Okay, well, the point is how I manage the cases and how I can make others run the cases. Basically, that's the proposal that we use in Process Maker. Okay, so mm, I am only making reference to that point. So I think that with those observations, I think that we are ready to continue. I'm going to check now. Let's do the next step. Excuse me, not next step. Let's do it the next lab. I'm going to move here. And well, you are going to do this lab. Web entries and case tracking. Are you there? Okay, so let's do that lab. Just the lab, web entries and case tracking. Okay? 15 minutes for the lab. Did you finish? Hello, did you finish the lab? Okay, that's fine. Okay, Well, we discussed about many features today. Let me make a brief review of these topics. We're going to make a 15-minute review, and then we are going to make a break after that. Um, okay, I talk about the uses of all this stuff. I mean, I was we were talking about the use of first. I discussed about these. I discussed about going to the admin panel, and the first lab that we did was this, the custom case list. So the custom case list has the purpose of organizing information. It means I have some case list fields, okay, and then I can move backwards and forward, and then if I select one of these folders, I move to home, you're going to see that here actually I'm going to find all the information arranged, okay. So you have that information at your hands, okay. So the idea of this plugin is you can select also a PM table, and you can enter other type of fields also from a PM table, and these are going to be represented here in one of our folders that you have here. Is the inbox, draft, participate, and unassign, and so on. So it can be post, and so you are going to see this kind of work that we have done. Apart from that, one thing that we have discussed a lot, it was the use of in this case, the use of batch routing. So if you move to batch routing, we said that in our case the invoice approval process, this process that you find here, this process, the invoice approval process, is going to be configured here in the approved invoice in properties, and exactly the property is consolidated case. When this happens, I'm going to click here and select the Dynafor template that I need for these activity properties, as you can check here. So that's the Dynafor template, and well, that's the main point of this. Okay, so that's a Dynafor template. Okay, so you can use this, then you save it, and when you save it, it means that all the cases that I'm running through the process are going to arrive to this point called approve invoice, and there I can proceed to the next stage, to the next step. So that's the main reason of using the receive invoice and then moving to the approved invoice. Okay, so batch routing, as we said, is going to collect our information, is going to receive that information, is going to arrange all the cases, and if you look at these in steps, and there you have this approved invoice, you are going to have all of these fields. So all of these fields are going to belong to this part. Is the invoice information, as you can see here, and then you have all the fields here. Now each one of the fields is going to be represented in batch routing, as you see here. All of these are going to be represented by batch routing, and the way that I can activate the routing operations is going to be the click here, okay, select cases before, then click here and then route these cases. So that one is an option that you can start playing with. So it's a feature that we have observed today. Okay, batch routing. I know that they are very small features that we observe, but they are very important in the sense that we always work with all of them. Actually, that's the main point of using this type of this type of work. Okay, this type of elements. Yeah. So you have here the this kind of feature. Okay. Then I'm going to move to another place. This one is going to be, okay, you have this, okay. You move here to the designer here. Well, I wish to talk a little bit about another thing. Okay, we're discussing about process. Okay, we were discussing about all of running cases, and then we moved to batch routing, and then I introduced the topic of using the web entry. So if I click here and I click on this start event and then I click to web entry, you are going to find a display of options. What was the reason of using a web entry? Web entries are going to be used for this purpose. We want to create, okay, and I want you to bear in mind that idea. We want to create with this web entry, we want to create, if we can call it a system, we want to receive and collect information. So I propose you the idea of students who come and they are going to introduce data, they are going to introduce everything, and it's going to be a nightmare to create 100 accounts for people who are going to take the survey. So instead of that, the main solution from Process Maker was the creation of the web entry. So the web entry is going to get access to grant and access to the final users, and there we can start operating according to our needs. Apart from that, we were discussing about all of these. Then we had the part, we saw all these features of the web entry. One of them was the forms. It can be single or multiple step. Single means that I'm going to use one piece, one process maker object. It can be a Dynaform. Then you have the multiple steps here, and multiple steps are going to have a multiple assignment here of all these steps. Then I move to properties, and in properties you are going to have the web entry title here, then the authentication, and then the rest of all of these, the callback action, the custom URL, the show task in new case, and so on. So you are going to have all of these details that I am introducing in Process Maker. So this is the web entry, as you can see here. Then I move to the link, and the link is going to be all of this. I'm going to generate the link. So what does mean this link? It means that any user can open a case. Okay, so this link I can embed it in an HTML code, and then I can start working with that reference. Okay, so it's also a viable possibility. Okay, it's an option. Now in properties you have many features, and one of them, I didn't say that, when you say the redirect to custom URL, you can write here the URL that you can use for the callback. What it means this, that if I finish all the part of the web entry, okay, you are going to provide that callback, and then we can, it means that after completing all the web entry, you are going to have this URL as a enter. Okay, well, that's the main point. Okay, questions you may have. We talk about the case tracker again. It's a configuration. I'm going to enter some objects here, then the process map, the routing history, the messages, and when that is happening, I'm going to assign some objects. It means that I can observe what is happening. If you remember, when I use here the all of this, then you have this, for instance, and I have 91, then YCI8. Okay, tracker, and then it was logging. Okay, I enter this, and if you remember, one of the features was also to observe a Dynaform or whatever process maker object, as you can see here, for invoice information. So that's the main issue of using all of that. Questions? Okay. I'm going to provide you a quiz. Okay. Uh, please try to fill in. It's going to be a moment for you. I'm going to provide you a quiz. Tell me if you have received this quiz. You have to fill in. Did you receive the quiz? Yeah. Could you complete it, please? Could you complete the this survey? Hello. How are you? Okay, we are back. Okay, we have to explore two more topics. So I wish that you could follow me with these topics. One is going to be dedicated for subprocesses, and the other one is going to be dedicated with message events. So one key term that I want you to bear in mind is we focus a lot, but we focus a lot on how we use processes and the environment of design. Okay, so we focus a lot on both things in the next labs. Um, okay, actually, I believe that you finished with the uh, Okay. Um, well, I'm going to work a little bit with you. I'm going to now see subprocesses and message events. Okay, let me do an introduction. Okay, um, a process is not going in real life. It's not going to be something like that, like this. This is a very simple process, and actually we created for demo reasons. Okay, but if you look at the real process, you're going to find a very complex structure. You're going to find a plenty of subunits that they are going to be connected. So it seems ridiculous to use, for instance, around if you have a very large process to put 40 tasks in a design. It doesn't make sense. So things that you can do is that you imagine even 20 tasks. 20 tasks is a lot. It's a lot of information. So what we have in Process Maker is something called subprocesses. So a subprocess is going to be another process, is transversal to all the processes, and it has its own environment design. Okay, and I'm going to repeat that. It has its own environment design. Remember that. Own environment design. Okay, and depending on the case, I'm going to use this subprocess, and they are going to be part, exactly, they are going to be part of our process as a subunit, as a brick that we are going to introduce and start working with that. Okay, that's the idea of using this type of processes. So let's begin and explore a little bit. Okay, in my current process, the invoice approval process, I need to check the the use of an invoice of a subprocess. This subprocess is going to allow me to approve the payment of something. Okay, it means a document. So that one. I'm going to download here a subprocess here and put it here. And this one I'm going to move here. And the same as here. I'm going to make some arrangements here. This properties is going to be, okay, all of these. Okay. And well, the process is going to, I am just making the reconfiguration of that gateway because I have changed the rules, because I have changed the design. Okay. So I'm going to change the rules, save it, and move it here. And here I'm going to edit the label. The label is going to be order payment order approval. And actually, this icon is the subprocess icon. It is going to represent another process inside this process. But this process that I'm going to select has its own environment. Again, I repeat that. I'm not going to be tired to repeat that because with message events, you are going to see the contrast between message events. So I'm going to click here and open here. Then I'm going to click on properties. In this part, I'm going to select a process. And this select a process, I'm going to select a process like, for instance, let me check. For instance, I'm going to select a process like create this payment order creation. I have selected the process, and actually this process that I select here This process that I have selected, it is this one. This one. Then you have the starting activity, and this starting activity can be review accounting. Okay, so you have the payment order approval, then they have your payment order creation, and the starting activity is going to be review accounting. So that's the main point of using that. Is like you have the payment order approval, then you have the payment order creation, the process that I selected, and here I'm selecting the task where I am starting the process. Actually, it is the review accounting. And if we go here, you're going to notice that the first task is actually review accounting. Okay? Then I can choose two types, asynchronous and synchronous. And let me stop here for a while. When I say that something is asynchronous, it means that I select asynchronous. I run the case. It goes here, it goes, and it arrives here. And when you run a case in this master process, you're going to have, for instance, case 1. And in the subprocess, when you start, you're going to have another case. In asynchronous subprocesses, it doesn't matter if this case, the case of the subprocess, is not finished. It doesn't matter. The case of the master case is going to continue to this pay invoice. So that's why we use this asynchronous. Now, if you have synchronous, my master case is going to come here. Is the case number 1. So it goes through receive invoice and approve invoice. There is an approval and it comes here. Here I'm going to create the case of the subprocess, case number 2. And I need to finish this case of the subprocess, case number 2, to finish the case number 1, the case of the entire process. And from here to here, we are going to see an exchange of information. Actually, when you have this, the type is going to be synchronous. Okay? Now, when something is synchronous, you can make some variable configuration. What it means this? I can select a variable out or variable in section. If I say variable out, it means variables out of this main process, okay? And they are going to enter to the subprocess. When I say variables in, it means variables into the main process from the subprocess, okay? So in this case, I'm going to select here variables from the main process. So in this case, I can make it like I'm going to use the APP number, for instance, and I'm going to match it with number here. I can use with name here. And here is going to be responsible. You know, these variables represent variables from the main process. On the other side, you have variables from the sub-process. It means from here. Okay, so in my case, if I have name, for instance, name comes from here, from my dynaphone. This is name. And when this value, this string, is transferred to the subprocess here, the subprocess is going to receive according to the configuration, is going to receive it as responsible here. Okay, I'm going to continue with the last configuration. Okay, it's going to be total. And here I'm going to enter another one, and it's going to be amount here. Okay, now if I have all of this information, I can make also the variables in, and the variables in is going to obtain, for instance, I'm going to obtain the amount, and the amount I'm going to make it total. So I think that my subprocess has been configured, as you can see here. I have configured this subprocess. So I'm going to save it. Okay. And now if I have this process saved, let's see what happens if I run a case. I'm going to see if the debugger is clicked. So it's clicked. I'm going to move here and click on home, then click on new cases, and then I'm going to explore. I'm going to select one of these options, just okay, this one, and see the case that I'm using right now is 9/3. I'm going to select the date. Okay, that's fine. Then the due date, and here I'm going to add two items. The first one is 1919 TVs, and the cost is 100, for instance. Then I'm going to use another item, and it can be a mouse. My excuses. Mouse comes from description, then you have 12, and then you have the unit cost 100. When that happens, I'm going to submit this, and there you have. You are going to find that you have here the case number is 93. Now I'm going to continue this case until this, the approved invoice. Okay, so I'm going to select in this case the administrator user. Okay. Oh, before starting, let's modify some things here. Okay, because for demo reasons I'm going to use everything as the admin user. Okay, because it's easier to show the demo if I select just the admin user. That's why I decided to select directly. Okay, the approved invoice has finished. Remember that it's case 93. So case 93 is going to be showing the invoice. Then I'm going to open this, and I'm going to approve. It means that I move here. I'm going to approve it and click on continue. And now it says here next task and event review accounting. Then you have payment order creation, admin, administrator. Okay, so that's the point. Review accounting, payment order creation, admin, administrator. You have this type of assigned task event. When I click on continue, I'm going to receive another number of case for this process. And actually here is the name of the task. this one, and the name of the process associated to the first task is going to be this one, payment order creation. When that happens, I'm going to click on continue. For demo reasons, everything is administrative. This is not technically true. In reality, you can assign a member of your group. It depends on the design criteria. So you can follow all this explanation. Um, you don't have to follow as it is exactly the things that I'm doing, but the concepts are set here and you have to follow them because Process Maker works like that. But the part of assignment, I just did it for demo reasons. So user assignment, okay? I'm going to click on continue, then I'm going to move to continue. Now I have a case called 94 and it is this one. I'm going to open it. And now you can see that it says administrator, just like in our configuration. The APP number was 93. And now the number in this case, the case of the subprocess, is 93. Then the name is the responsible. The name was in the main case, and now in this the responsible, because this variable is the responsible. Let me show you this one has been transferred, and then you have the amount. In the case of the amount, let me check. Maybe some configuration is missing. Just a moment, I'm going to check that. Okay. Oh, I forgot this. Okay, I'm going to reload this again. I'm going to reload the frame. Okay, actually, I'm going to open another case because I forgot that trigger, and it allows me to calculate the total. Okay, so I'm going to make it faster. Now I'm going to just change some things. Instead of case 93, now we are going to have case 95. I'm going to move through all this way, then submit it, and move to continue. When that happens, I'm going to move again to next. I'm going to select the administrator here and click on continue, and then again moving here. Then the case 95, I'm going to open it. I'm going to approve. And this means that case 96 is going to be created, and it is the case of the subprocess. If I click on submit and then click on continue, now you can see this. Let's click on continue again and open case 96. And there you have. Now this amount is going to suffer some tax deduction, and that amount is going to be transferred to the total, to the main process. So if you remember, is 4400. So I'm going to submit, then move forward. Here I'm going to see the tax deduction. And if I move to my previous case, it means case 95. Excuse me, case 96. I'm going to open, I'm going to approve. Now see that this amount is going to be reduced. So I'm going to click on continue, okay, and finish the case of the subprocess. Okay, let me check this. Oh, yeah, I know what happened. It's trying to obey this rule, but now it doesn't make sense. So I'm going to use this cyclical assignment. That was the mistake. Okay, so I'm going to make the reload. Okay. Okay, it's case 96. That's fine. I'm going to search for a file this case 96, okay? No, here. Okay, again, I'm going to make another test. Some details of design and assignation. I forgot many things, but now let's move on. This is going to be the last chance, okay? Okay, it's going to be 12. Now I'm going to submit this, move it, then move to next. Then I'm going to select the admin user, okay? Then 97 here. Say yes, the approval, okay, continue. Then review accounting, okay, I click on continue. Okay, now case 98 is going to be this one. I'm going to open it. And now look at the amount. The amount is going to be, I'm going to show you, this amount is going to be this one. 14,144. So I'm going to submit this and click on continue. And then click on continue. Okay, and now that case 98 of the subprocess I finished. If I move here, the case 95 is going to be open. So if I open it, you are going to see the tax deduction, and voila, this is the tax deduction here. I have extracted a part of the tax deduction. And if you see this configuration is going to receive the total. So if you see it here, this amount was subject to tax deduction, and then that value was transferred to total. When that happens, you are going to see that here in output documents, this is the total, and actually it was less than the quantity that we saw before. So that's the main point of using sub-processes. I can start working with them. I can play a little bit with them. But the main thing that you have to understand is that sub-processes use, and let me tell you that clearly, sub-processes use its own environment, okay? Its own environment of design. Now, what happens if this is asynchronous? You have seen that when I run asynchronous, first it shows me the master case, and after the case of the subprocess. And after finishing the case of the subprocess, I can continue the case of the main process. But now this is asynchronous, so I'm going to play a little bit with that. And I'm going to move to home here, and then click on new case, and I'm going to start opening here. Then I say 10 TV 10. Then here it is going to be 15, radio 13. Okay, I'm going to submit, and the case is 99. The case of my subprocess should be 100. I'm going to move to next, then I'm going to use this admin. Okay, click on continue, move. Again, we still play a little bit. We move here, we click on yes, and there we have. Now, if I move here, you can see that both cases appear, and this is because I have selected asynchronous processes. And in that sense, when I say that something is asynchronous, it means that I can continue either the case of the main process or the case of the subprocess. That's the asynchronous. The asynchronicity is going to allow me to work with both. I don't need to finish first the subprocess and then the main process. Evidence is this one. So, what do you think about this? I want to know what is happening. I wish to know what are your comments, what do you think? Maybe you like the feature. Do you think that this is going to be very useful for you? Hello? Are you there? Hello? Okay, so no questions at all. And the feature, did you like it? Did you enjoy this feature? Yeah, we added quite this part because it was very highly demanded by our customers. Okay, that's why that we have chosen to do that. Well, it's an additional part of using this criteria. Okay, so process is very important. Okay, so I believe with that we are ready to continue. Let's move to our process maker here. Okay, process maker university. Let's do this lab and the quiz. The lab and the quiz, please. Okay, let's do both. Okay, 15 minutes. Let's check the quiz. Um, if I go to advanced options here, okay, you're going to find here, let me close, okay, I'm going to reattempt the quiz here. How is Process Maker Case Tracker accessed? By enabling the case tracker and opening a case. By, I think that it is B, by changing the last part of the Process Maker URL to tracker/login. Web entries can be used to assign existing cases to external users. True. No, false. So processes are created from the designer interface just like any other process. True. The following information is required for external users to access the process maker case tracker: the case spin and the case number. There are two subprocess types: synchronous and asynchronous. Okay, I'm going to finish the review. Okay. Well, I think that okay. Now there is another way that you can construct a process, and it is by using message events. I'm going to see with you how it works. Okay. Um, let's make the review here. Not review. Let's teach it here. I'm going to move to the designer. Now I want you to focus on this and notice on the details. This process has another process, is composed of two processes. But notice that we are connecting both processes with message events. So you have the send message event and you have a receive message event on the left side, and on the right side I sent a message and it's going to be received by the message at the top of the payment order creation process. And if you see, there is something very interesting here. When I talk about an environment of design, imagine that I'm going to make a copy of an output document, or I'm going to need it. So if I'm going to need in both processes, I think that the best option is to use in both places, in the payment order creation and then invoice approval process. In both of them, you are going to use these two processes. Okay, so what I try to say here is that environment design means variables, dynaforms, output documents, permissions, and so on. Okay, when you have isolated, like the case of subprocesses, you have a transversal process covering all, but I mean all the, it means that you can use to any process. Okay, and here it doesn't work like that. So the configuration is going to be different because I'm going to use message events, and message events are going to be interconnected. Things that I want to explain you is the idea of creating message types. We are going to create structures of messages, and actually by creating the structure of messages, I'm going to send a variable or send a value, send a message. Definitely. So I'm going to send a message. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. I'm going to see with you this. Okay. To see also the message types. Okay, that's fine. So we are ready to start. Okay, so I'm going to move here. Okay, how it works this? Um, okay, I'm going to create two message types. This one, I'm going to create I'm going to create a message type, and its name is going to be payment order creation. Then I'm going to create a message field, this amount. Then I create name, and I create it. Then I create number. So I say these are the message fields, and this is the create message, so on. So these are the columns. I'm going to save it. Then I'm going to create another message. Let me explain you what is happening. I'm going to create these messages. My excuses. I'm going to create these messages here. The payment order approval, for instance. And what is happening here? That when I create a message like this one, I need to enter fields, and in these fields I'm going to store some values of variables. Actually, I'm going to enter a variable there in each field, and it contains a value, and the value is going for the field. So when I'm going to communicate with another process, it means that that value is going to be transferred from one field to another field depending on the configurations. Okay, I know that now it's not very clear, but let's move on. Okay, I'm going to move to save. Okay, message types is the idea of creating a message that it contains some fields. So in this case, it's the amount, the name, and the number. These are the fields that I'm using with which I can create a case. Okay, I'm going to save it. Okay, I'm going to click here on properties right now, and if you see there is here a connection. This connection is called this connection, okay, is called message flow arrow. The same as here is another message flow arrow. So what I try to do here is to start configuring my messages. So this with the dark envelope icon, this message event is going to send a message to the receive message event, and it is lighter here, the color. So in these message events, I'm going to configure the structure type. So I'm going to click on properties here, and the first thing that you are going to use is this one, the ID. I need a correlation value. This one is the ID payment. And in the other, the receive message event, if I go, I need the same correlation value. When both correlation values are correct, in this case ID payment, if this correlation byte value is identical to this one, it means that we are going to assure the transfer of message from this message event to this other message event. So we used in that case. I'm going to enter some values from here. I need this field amount to use the total. So it means that this field amount, is going to save the total, okay, the total value. The total value, we know that it's a variable and it's going to contain a numeric value, okay. But now that numeric value is going to be stored in this field called amount. This I am doing it for this message, okay. Now if I move to the other message event, I'm going to use the same criteria. Amount is again the same message field, and actually if you see, both of the message types are payment order creation here and here. When I select the properties here in amount, I'm going to use amount here and insert the variable and then save it, okay. And then I'm going to save this. I'm going to use here another message event, just another field I'm going to use, and this one is going to be name. Oh, number, excuse me. It's going to be number. I'm going to select app number. Name is going to be this one. And then I save it. Name, number, app number, amount, total. I'm going to save. I know, again, these variables are going to have their values, and these values are going to be stored in these fields. When I do this configuration in the receive message event, the same happens. The same fields are going to transfer the values that they have received from the master process into these variables that I'm going to assign now. So the only medium of transfer of values is going to be the fields of our message structure. Am I clear here? Michael, am I clear here? Are you paying attention to all of this? Sumita, the same. Do you understand? Okay. I'm going to enter now, okay, the rest of all of this, and the name is going to be responsible. The number is going to be number. And we are ready. Now let's see the other case. I'm going to move to the next message event. This is going to be a receive message event, and this is going to be an end message event. Now let's play a little bit. The message type here is going to be payment approval, okay? And now I see that this correlation value is going to be number. I have decided. Why? Okay. I'm going to erase this. Why? Because in here the APP number, the number of case, for instance, is 1. I'm going to send this number 1 here. It's the value 1. But I am saving as number in that variable. Okay? And in here is going to have another case number. It's different. When this completed, you are going to have two things: the case number of this process and the number. But the number represents the number of case of this process. When I configure this, you're going to obtain here the properties. Okay? Let me check the okay. Okay. And now you know number is going to represent the value that received, okay? The variable that received the value of this case number. So in this case, we know that it is case 1. And the APP number for this is case 2. And both have to be identical. So it means that this correlation value that I use for the receive is going to be number 1. It means for this process. And here, oh, just a moment, I'm going to improve this. It's because I recently created and it's not recognizing easily. Okay, so this correlation value is APP number here, and here the correlation value is going to be number. But when both are matched, if you remember in the transference of variables, if they are matched, it means that we can send the message. They are communicating. Now I'm going to send here the properties, and the first one in properties is going to be an amount, and this is going to be the amount. Then I have these properties here, and I'm going to save it as total. Okay, okay, so I'm going to save it, and there you have. Okay, I'm going to cancel this and make it end event. Okay, now my processes are configured. I'm going to make a debugging here, and let's run the case. Obviously, everything is going to be admin for demo reasons, okay? Everything I'm going to make it admin, admin, admin. Okay, so do you have any question for this? Is everything clear? Michael, Sumit, is everything clear? Okay, I'm going to run the case. Click on new case and say this is invoice approval process, message events, okay. Then I'm going to enter the data, this one. Then due on receipt, for instance. I'm going to enter a quantity, this one. For instance, 10 TV, 10, then I'm going to say 10 mouse. I know that I'm not very creative on this, but that's the main issue here. Okay, when this happens, I'm going to submit this value. And what it means, when I submit this value, you're going to have the approved invoice here. Okay, I send it. Okay, I'm going to move to another value here called this one. I'm going to approve the invoice. I'm going to submit, and there you have. When this happens, it means that you go here, it moves here, it moves here, and then now I say yes, and when it arrives at this point, you are going to receive this kind of message. The case will be paused until you receive the corresponding message. It means that I need to wait. I'm going to in this. I need to. The case will be paused until this message is not sent. Now I'm going to make this sending of the message manually. Okay, so I'm going to move here, and then I'm going to make it manually. So I'm going to move here. Then I'm going to use this one. Oh, super user do super user. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is to run a cron. I'm going to make it manually. Do you know what is a cron? I believe that yes. Unix system, Linux. Yeah, it's a time-based script. So it's going to execute some tasks based on a script. Bear in mind that. Well, my cron is going to be here. Maker, workflow, then you have engine, and finally in bin. When this happens, I'm going to make the app IDR. Okay, I am in this engine, all of this engine. Okay, when this happens, when this engine is open, when this happens, it means that here I'm going to able to run the following script. PHP, I'm going to use this command, then force, okay, and then the script that I'm going to run, before that I'm going to show you which one, is this one, message event cron. So I say PHP, then F, then message event cron dot PHP, okay, this one, and when that happens, I can include, if necessary, I can include this force, okay, but I think that it's not necessary. When this happens, I'm going to enter this, and well, let me see, message event cron. Okay, it processed one workspace. Oh, okay, I'm going to send this, but I'm going to use this force. Yeah, when this happens, well, I should be. When this happens, let me check. Okay, it's not here. When this happens, the case that I'm going to continue. Oh, I didn't click this. If I click this, okay, now I can run. I'm going to run now the case. I'm going to move here from this directory. I'm not going to use force. And now it says cases started 1. Finish 1 workspace processed. When that happens, it means that here in our processes here, this has a number of cases. but now it created another case when it received the message. So when that happened, you're going to find, if you remember, the first case was 101, now it's 102. I'm going to continue. And the correlation values allow me to have this communication. Now, if you check the configuration, the things that I enter here, these variables contain values and they were stored in these fields. And the fields with those values transferred those values to these variables. And these variables are going to be displayed here in this dynamo. So I'm going to submit this, click on continue, release the payment, click on continue again. I'm going to move here and in approve is going to be yes, then I click here, then I click on continue and move on continue here. Now I know that I need to move back. It means I need to return to the case 101. So since there is no message that alerts me that, I'm going to run again the cron, move it here, run my cron again, and now it says case continue. So I'm going to click here, move to home, then move it here, and there you have. This is the case I need to work on. I open it, and there you have. This is the case to work on. Okay, did you like or not? Okay, we can make something if you like it, just as a way to experiment. Okay, I'm going to enable one lab. Well, I know it's a pilot lab, it's something that I'm creating, but if maybe I don't see restrictions why you could not use right now. So I'm going to enable that lab, and then you're going to see it. So I'm going to enable for a while for you. Okay, try to play a little bit with that lab. I am going to show you and try to do this lab. Okay, I want you to do this lab, the message events. Is that fine? Let's play with this lab. Tell me if you can see it. Oh, yeah. Why do I should use the method, the message events versus subprocesses? A subprocess, and before starting that lab, a subprocess, my subprocess in the first case was this one, payment order creation. So it has its own environment of design, okay? So it's going to be independent, and it can be the brick for any of the other processes. It's going to have its own permissions, its own case tracker, and so on. Even its own web entry, for instance. Now, in the case of using, like here, a message event, both processes are connected by message events, and both processes are going to share messages here. That's why that we use this kind of message event as this way. I'm going to use I'm going to share the same environment of design. When I say the same environment design, I mean input documents, output documents, dynaforms, variables, permissions, and so on, even supervisors. So, do you understand the difference between both? Yeah, let's do this lab. It's just experimental. I enabled you for you because I think that you are going to do it right. It's this one, lab message events. Let's do it, okay? Can you do it? Okay, let's do it. Before 2 minutes, I'm going to say the final words for this person as a way to close it, okay? Enjoy the lab.